Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Smason, and welcome to NOLA Theatre Talk. This is our weekly gathering for the NOLA Theatre Folk Facebook group. NOLA Theatre Talk is also broadcast to the theatrecriticism.com Facebook page, and additionally to my own Music Lovers 169 Alan Smason YouTube channel. We do this every week, Mondays and Fridays, most every Monday and Friday. I will tell you that for those of you who are interested in tuning in Friday, do not despair. You won't be rid of me forever, but this Friday will be a religious holiday for me, and I will be taking my time away from the show in order to do my religious observance and practice. So hopefully you all will not miss me much. And I want to remind everybody that coming up a week from tonight, we have a very special presentation, a new play that has seen a reading previously. We'll find out a little bit more about that, but has never, as I understand it, ever been done in a virtual setting before. So you'll be able to see a live stream reading of Interstate 81. And Interstate 81 is a play, original play, that was written by none other than Amy Judith Reuben. I rarely get to use her middle name, but I'm going to do so tonight. And again, she is our guest tonight on our program. And again, I'd like to welcome Amy Reuben to our show. Yay!
Hi.
Now, Amy, you are a playwright, but you're also more than that. You've actually produced events. You've gotten involved with a lot of other different things that you've done. And we're going to talk about all of that. Not probably everything that you've done, but a lot of what you have. And first off, I want to welcome you to the show. And again, I want to thank you for offering us the opportunity to do Interstate 81. And again, that will be starting up on next Monday. And I should tell everybody who the cast is composed of. And you have actually worked with at least one of these in the reading previously. A person is going to reprise his role, right? That would be
Right. Ken Connor.
So tell me a little bit about Interstate 81. You actually lived in the area of Virginia that you sort of described?
No, my relatives live there.
Okay.
My daughter's grandmother, her Nana, and her grandfather lived there, and her father has extended family there. My daughter's aunt lives there, her uncle, cousins grew up in that area. But I visited a lot, and the first time that I visited was with Rebecca, my daughter's father, Chuck, and before I even had Rebecca. And I saw this place when I was being taken around, and it's the setting of this play. And I saw that it was abandoned, and I thought, well, wonder what happened to these people and what was going on. And I created their story. I did some research about the area and created this story. And then I put this small play in a drawer for a lot of years. And so now I've taken it out.
And the characters have a very specific Virginia dialect that you were very insistent on, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about why that particular dialect was so important to the focus? What is it about that distinguishes that section of Virginia from, say, the other 5 dialects that go on?
Well, it's the Tri-Cities area, and it's the southern part of Virginia that's also linked with Tennessee. And I just thought that the way that they spoke was quite different than anything I'd heard of. And I hadn't traveled in the South too much at that time when I first went to Abingdon, Virginia. But I enjoyed listening to the way that they spoke, and then the intonations. And I had trouble listening to it at first, and then I got accustomed to it. And I just think it's important because it's an area that's in the Appalachian Mountains, and it's a very distinct area. And it also shares, as I said, with the border of Tennessee, and it's close to South Carolina. It's just a really special place, and I fell in love with it. There's a few really beautiful old parts that haven't changed, and the people are the warmest people. They're really lovely, and they are welcoming, and I felt at home right when I started going.
Do you think it would be giving away anything if I showed one of the pictures that you had of the barn?
You can show the
All
picture.
right.
Yeah,
So
go
so
ahead.
so you know, in other words, I know we have several pictures, but this is the actual red barn that you based your play on, correct? That was
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
it.
so now it was abandoned. It doesn't look too abandoned now.
It's been abandoned for a lot of years, and it unfortunately became more dilapidated over the years.
It looks
Um,
better than an abandoned property or blighted property here. Maybe I'm
yeah.
used to seeing things that were blown apart by Katrina or whatever. But anyway, so this is going to be again. You mentioned Ken Connor, who's going to be starring as the gruff 60-year-old. I guess you might say somewhat miserly guy who is in the wheelchair, not the wheelchair, the rocking
No.
chair back and forth and rocking and I guess pontificating about the world, huh? In a sense,
Well, he's the grandfather. So
yeah,
the play has the multi-generational dysfunctional family.
right.
And the grandfather is the patriarch, and he's set in his ways, and he's a bit ornery, and he wants things the way he wants them. But
And yeah,
go ahead.
okay, but I was just going to say, and apparently, the Interstate 81 that you titled has sort of been a thorn in his side, is it not?
Yes, because before the interstate opened up, and the interstate was completed, I believe, in the late 60s, early 70s, and the play is set in 1972. So the interstate, it was completed in that area. It's destroyed his life as he knew it before. You know, he's an old timer, and he doesn't like what it's doing to his business. His livelihood is that general store and his farm, and he doesn't like what it's doing to his family and the changes. He's really not interested in the change of what's going on. And plus, in his age, he's not adapting well to becoming older.
Who is? you know,
Well,
it's you know,
yeah.
if you're of a certain age, you either have to adapt, or you have to prepare for the great beyond. I guess we should also mention that Jen Pagan is going to be taking on the role of Emily, her his daughter, right?
Right.
And what, mid 30s, somewhere 35
Yeah,
or
she's
so.
35.
And
Hmm.
and again, she figures prominently as somebody who's involved, but again, may not be as tied to the property and tied to the businesses as Grandpa.
Right. Well, also the play starts denoting the different in generations during that time and their belief systems and what they think they want to do with their lives, and in relation to the family unit, the security of having a family business, and also education. So I tap into that as well. And so Emily, who is the daughter, she's got her high school education and nothing more. And well, you'll hear what Pa has, and I don't want to give it away,
Right? No, no.
what goes on with him. But Emily has aspirations, and her father doesn't understand her aspirations, and the way the twists of her life have come into play. You're going to see that in the play as well.
So we had Jen on not that long ago. She was in the discussion. We were talking about inclusion of the Latinx community, people who were from Hispanic communities, et cetera. And we talked about the use of the term Hispanic, whether it's proper or not, and Latin, Latinx, and what have you. So again, I
Mm-hmm.
apologize if I'm getting any of those terms wrong. But Jen, just coincidentally, had mentioned when she was in Los Angeles working as an actor, she used to get called all the time, for Latina roles, and no problem. But when she came to New Orleans, she apparently wasn't Latin enough for people to hire. She said so. It was just kind of a strange situation. But she's not going to be playing a Latin role. She's going to be taking on the role of Emily,
Right.
and then in the role of her son, we have a UNO student, Jaquan Monroe Henderson,
Who I don't
and
even know.
Jaquan actually I saw in Dark Nights that Kalo Gao did last year, and he was a very notable member of the cast. He befriended the lead and was sort of like her go-to friend, who was not a love interest, and would not ever be a love interest, if you get my drift. But he was a very close friend to her, and he did a great job. And again, one of the things that's very important is for him to get that accent right. And he's working with Kalo. Kalo is actually working with him on the dialect. So I can't wait to hear how he does it as well. And then the final guy, we've heard of him somewhere along the line. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
He's done something 1 or 2 times, maybe.
He's done a few things here and there.
And he only really comes in the second half of the show, the second act. Dane Rhodes will be on our very first virtual reading with him. And
I got to say, Alan, I'm so excited that Dane is going to do this, because I know Dane from years ago doing technical production theater, and he is he's a marvelous actor, and he's such a good person, and I'm glad that we got him to do this. I'm excited that he's working on something.
He's actually in the middle of a production right now in I think he said Homa. So go figure. But he's going to do our thing, because he said that he can't do his last show was like on Saturday, and our rehearsal is going to be on Sunday, and he's going to actually participate on Thursday. So he has a show like on Friday and Saturday, and then he's done with the role, and then he can plunge more into Interstate 81. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I've got to let you know, Jennifer Pagan and I go way back too, and so do Ken Connor and I. Jennifer just did a role for me in a staged reading, and we go way back, working a long time ago, way back. I mean, I was in New Orleans for 29 years, and Jennifer worked on shows with me in the beginning.
You just touched on something that we probably should mention, and that is that you're not in New Orleans any longer. We'll get to that in a little bit, though. But you were here for a long time, and you were a staple of the community for a long time. I'm talking about the theater community. But again, let me again remind everybody, if you're going to leave comments tonight on Facebook, we would love for you to go to https://StreamYard.com, like a stream and a yard, StreamYard.com/Facebook. That will allow us to know who it is that said bonsoir, Amy, and I think that's bonsoir, probably.
Bonsoir.
Yeah. And then again, we had somebody else made a comment, yay Dane, and that's the way we feel too. Very happy. Dane. Again, if you just would go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, you can get your name up here. We'll know who it is that's talking to us. And then I don't know what that means. Oh, Belloc. Yeah, now we'll get to that in a second.
Well, Belloc.
Belloc is what it says.
They're meaning Belloc.
Yes, and
then there's Jen Pagan.
Yeah, I don't know if it's her or not. And then it says Columns Hotel.
Yes,
so we've got a lot of pictures of some
Hotel.
of your several things that I've got that people are already starting to discuss. But let me first off get into the historical stuff that you had done, and I think it's really important for people to see some of the pictures that we have of that. So let me go back a little bit. This is again a little bit in time, but I know that this is one of the older pictures that you've got, and has to do with, I think, Storyville, and I think it's Stocker Fonaloo, Mike Kelly, I think the blessed actress Veronica Russell.
Yes.
And there they are, and is that at the dedication of the Storyville?
That is at the marker that is no longer on Basin Street, and that was for 1997 for the centennial anniversary of the opening of the district Storyville, that I did as a citywide event. And Stocker was gracious enough to come on as Sydney Story, and Veronica played one of my
Josie
girls.
Arlington?
Well, she's in a costume before she did Josie Arlington. So I caught her in 1996. She came to audition for the stage reading that was at the Columns Hotel of a 3-act play that I created based on the district. And she started to play this role of Emma for me, which was the Irish octoroon who is better known as Striped Stockings, plate number 17, the most famous of the Belloc portraits that everyone sees. It's the gal with the striped stockings who
I
is
do know
toasting.
who that is. Isn't it funny?
Her name was Emma, and
her name was Emma.
I created her story, and Veronica played her for me. And then Veronica, because she had so many beautiful costumes that were of the time, she put that costume together. Later on, she started portraying Josie Arlington for the historical characters. But
Well,
first, she was my Emma.
It's funny, you mentioned Emma. Diana Rigg, of course, was Miss Emma Peel, and I just found out by doing some research on that her original name was Samantha, and that Samantha was changed to Emma somehow or other, and everybody knows her as Emma Peel now. But Emma's a wonderful name.
It was a common name for girls during that time period, too.
You don't hear it much anymore, do you?
No.
You don't hear it much. Amy is used
Actually,
to be a lot more common.
I'm named from my Russian great-grandaunt, who was Emrushka. And as a child, my mother used to call me Em and Emma sometimes instead of Amy.
Oh.
So
no wonder.
I love the name Emma.
All right. Now the most important question you face tonight. What did you bring in the room for your drink tonight? Because I've
already taken a few sips.
All right. So what is it?
It's ginger and turmeric tea.
Tea. We have a genuine teetotaler here tonight, folks.
I am a teetotaler. Yeah.
And of course, I was in a rush to kind of do something. So I told you, what did I make? Do you remember what I told you it was?
I don't remember the name of it.
You don't remember. It was named after an Italian count in the early 1920s in Paris. That should be the hint. Named after Count Negroni.
Negroni, sorry.
Yeah. So it's equal parts gin and a little bit of sweet vermouth, equal parts of that, and also a little bit of Campari. And so there you have
what
it.
kind of glass is that you're using?
It's a little, like a little martini glass.
It's a martini glass.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of shaped martini glass. Not your traditional, but it's a little, it's for... By the way, if you've seen those big, wide martini glasses, you see this one?
Yeah.
Exactly the same amount of liquid. It will knock your socks off. If I poured what was in here into a big glass that flares out, it's the exact same amount of volume. It's
a pretty glass. That's why I asked you what kind of glass it was.
Thank you. No, there's nothing special, but that's the way bars make money. Is they put something in a big wide glass, you think you're drinking more, so you order more of it because it's a big glass. And then when somebody gives you a glass like that, hey, that's not as big and it's not as nice as the other one, and it's exactly the same. Let's go to a couple of other historical pictures that we've got here. And again, for those of you who are out there, your comments are very much appreciated tonight. Again, StreamYard.com/Facebook. We'll be able to see who it is that's talking to us. We are talking tonight. Again, we appreciate her being here. The playwright and producer and so much more, Amy Reuben. We want to thank her for being with us. And again, next Monday night, we're going to be having Interstate 81. That'll be starting at 8 o'clock, September the 21st. So do not go far. It is going to be, it's not really a world premiere, but what would you call it?
It's definitely a world premiere because I only wrote the first act before when we performed it as a staged reading.
So now it's a 2-act.
It's the full length. It's a 2-act. So this is the premiere.
Now that's an interesting story. Let's examine that just a bit because you had a 1-act, you presented it in a reading, and then somebody came up to you, a pretty well-known person.
Well, the 1-act was done through the Dramatists Guild Footlight series because I'm a member of the Dramatists Guild, and the Gulf Coast Playwrights allowed us to produce, and it was at Playhouse NOLA, and I had just done that when 2015, I believe it was, May 2015, and Perry Martin came, and he's very good friends with Ken Connor as well. And he listened to my play, and I left them hanging at the end of Act 1, and I thought I had finished my play, and Perry said, you need to write Act 2. You can't leave it like this. You have a 2-act. And he also said that if I wrote the 2nd act, he'd consider producing it at some point. So that was quite an inspiration for me, and it just got me thinking about, well, yeah, I got to do that. And a couple of the other playwrights told me the same thing. When they heard it the first time, said, well, where's the rest of the play? Right. And I left it as a mystery, but it's not a mystery anymore.
No, the mystery is solved. And by the way, that was probably back when Perry was still producing at the Bayou Theater Playhouse, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
So although he's no longer there, he's still doing a lot of production. So you never know. This thing may see the light of day. But I'm delighted that we
Yeah.
can do it next week. And again, I want everybody to know you'll be able to see something really special with, four great actors doing their best to bring these characters alive. And one of the things that I enjoy this process is not because I want to be a producer like Bialystok in Bloom. I want to be a producer. That's not my aim. My aim in life is not to necessarily attach my name to vehicles, etc. I really enjoy the process of creating, something, from a printed word and making it into something that people can say that had substance to it, and it's to me the act of creation, I think, and I think that part of it is the playwright, you. Part of it, of course, is the actor and what they bring to the table, and then I think the other part of it is the other part that maybe 2 or 3% is the platform and what it can do and what it can't do too. So it can be limiting as well as can be freeing. So you and I have discussed this when we've been talking about how to present this, right?
Yeah, this is the first time I'm doing something like this. I mean, I've done so many different mediums and not anything online before, so this is my first go. And I'm just thrilled that you invited me to submit my play and that you thought well enough of it to present it.
We are
So
still
thank you.
looking. We are still looking for more people to present. Monday nights are all open, as far as I'm concerned. And I just got word about a play that I'm hoping to be able to do with. I know somebody Natasha Raymer is going to be
Oh
working
yes,
with,
I work
and
with
Kathy
Natasha.
Randalls, who we know, of course, from Nita and Zeta. I won't go into all the details, but it's a very good possibility that we'll be presenting something that is not only a brand new world premiere, but is also really cutting edge and dealing with topics of a substantial nature of a political situation. And I
Hmm.
won't say any more than that, but anytime theater can be sort of the conscience of the audience and can
Hmm.
make us think about what's going on in the world and perhaps make commentary or perhaps bring forth commentary from us after we've seen it and give us a feeling about what is going on, whether it's just, unjust, whether there's a problem with a despot, or perhaps the people are causing problems in their demeanor, or what have you. All of these factors, I think it's really wonderful. Let me see who else we've got on our platform. Okay, Amy, it's some more love for me.
Oh,
It is Jen.
it
There
is
you go.
Jen.
All right.
I love
So
her so much. She is
so
so talented.
she really is. And I don't know. Did you get to see Eat Me, their
Oh
production she
yeah.
did?
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, it wasn't for the youngsters, but for those of
No,
us
and
who
can she ever cook?
she, you know what? That was some ganache, and
Oh
and
my
that's not
gosh.
that was chocolate ganache. She made a cake that was out of this world, and then she had
The
that pasta dish
the
that was just,
pasta dish
oh
was
my God,
nothing I've
wonderful.
eaten like that ever. And I have been to Italy and I
Yeah.
never ate pasta like that. It was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
No, no, it was
Yeah.
a highlight of the Infringe Festival, and I hope she does the next level of that next, this coming November. I don't know whether or not what they're doing virtual stuff, I guess, for the Infringe, but I'm
Yeah,
hoping that
they are.
that they can do, maybe she can do part two. Keep up the faith, and Jen, if you need any Jewish recipes, I've got a few here and there. So we'll mention that.
You and me
So
both.
so let's go back to some of the other older things that you did, if you don't mind my throwing out, because I really wanted
Go right ahead.
to cover a few of these. And again, um, this is, I think, you talked about the district. Tell me a little bit about the district. This was a piece that you did about
Oh,
Storyville, right?
yeah. So the actress is Raphael O'Neill, who is also amazing at what she does. And I worked with her years ago, and then I called her up and asked her if she would be interested in doing the role of Clara, which is one of the prostitutes that was photographed by Belloc. And this photograph of her was taken upstairs in the Little Gem Saloon. We did a photo shoot. John McCusker came and took gorgeous photographs, and we used it for our advertising. And she was the role of Clara, who is the the girl who was the crib girl, and she has a great backstory.
She has a great back too, apparently.
Does. She has a great back. She has a great everything. And the great thing about Raphael is that she can sing a little bit, and she speaks French, and her character was French, so it was perfect. And that was for the centennial of the closing of the District Storyville, for the production I put together, which we really couldn't do, but then we recreated it for the Infringe Festival. And so Hurricane Nate took away my festival.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
We did do for Infringe afterwards.
Let's take a look at this picture here. Now, this is...
Okay, that's our group shot.
That's your group, right?
Yeah. Okay, that was from a stage reading at Art Club. And we had, you can see Ken is there, and Preston Bishop played Belloc, and Eric Pollard is on the, well, it's on my left, the second one from the left, and we have Madeline White next to Preston. Preston's dead center. And Zara Zemmels is on the end on my right. And then Sunshine Bond is wearing the striped stockings. So she took the role of Emma for me. And then I'm standing there in the middle.
and you're next to?
Oh, and then Angie Z is on the other end. Angie Z joined us. She's a burlesque artist and songstress.
I know her well. Yes.
Oh gosh, she's so talented, and she's so
sings,
beautiful.
She sings fantastically too.
She does.
She's worked with Harry Morell. And
I hired her with Harry for a gig, for a gala gig.
Harry Marone Jr. He did a fantastic version of her over at Temple Sinai.
I hired her.
Is that what you hired? She was fantastic. I got more pictures of her and her tattoos, unfortunately, but I guess a lot of people say, because she's a beautiful woman.
She's gorgeous.
And she sang like an angel. And I have not seen her sing, that much since. But I thought she did
travels abroad a lot. She travels and she sings in Europe. She gets lots of gigs.
Well, I can understand how. It's not difficult to understand. Not a stretch of my imagination. Let me just put it that way. Now, I believe that you did The Death of Storyville. Now, was this in conjunction with the festival? Or
what do you mean, the death?
Well, it was the anniversary, I guess.
The anniversary of the closing. So I did both the anniversaries. So the anniversary of the opening was 1997. The anniversary closing was 2017.
Okay, I think this is the closing, right?
That is the closing. So that was the one day that we did get on board on Basin Street before Hurricane Nate closed us down. That was Friday morning. And we were doing, I think you've got the picture of the band. So I did the band. Jamie White headed up the band. He's the cornet player. And we walked through the Basin and we played and we said goodbye to Storyville. We closed it out as a jazz funeral.
Now, of course, you make Storyville sound a little bit more romantic, but it really was a sort of a seedy area at one point.
It was horribly seedy. It was treacherous to be in. It was it was lewd. It was crude. It was full of violence.
New Orleans. I mean, and
it was the worst of New Orleans and the best of New Orleans.
and in a way, it was. I mean, that Lulu White, et cetera. I mean, there were some people who had somewhat classy establishments.
Yeah,
but it was still Storyville.
Right.
It was right next to where the train station was. And again, had it not been for, and I know you know this, had it not been for World War I, and the government basically
shut it down.
The Navy and Army, et cetera. So we don't need our boys being subjected to all of those.
It was within 5 miles of a military base. It had to be closed down. That's what the Navy said. But it was dwindling anyways. I mean, it wasn't, it had its peak and then it was falling off. And the city wasn't happy with what they boundaried.
The whole idea of naming it for Louis Story, by the way.
Well, it wasn't really named for Sidney's Story.
Sidney's Story, rather. Wasn't it really kind of an insult?
It was, but it wasn't named that. That was afterwards. People started calling it Storyville because he wrote the ordinance that eventually passed. But the inhabitants called it the district. It was the Tenderloin District. And that's why everything that I do is district productions. It is nicknamed Storyville.
Okay, so I need you to move a little bit over to the side because I'm going to put something in the middle of us, okay? So I'm going to move to this way, and you move the other way.
This way.
The other way, yeah. Let's see if it comes in right. There we go.
Oh, there's me.
That's you.
Yeah, that's me leading it with my black wrapped wreath, saying goodbye to Storyville on Basin Street. And it's very emotional for me. I've spent a lot of time with this particular era and area of New Orleans history researching. So it's a very big part of my life. I was glad to be able to do at least that part for the closing.
Yeah.
It was a great time that we had on Basin Street. And I invited the Black Storyville baby dolls, and I had Diane Honore come, and she was one of the people that I wanted to have there. I befriended her through John McCusker, and she came out with a couple of her baby dolls and in full regalia and walked with us to say
And
goodbye.
again, Hurricane Nate was the hurricane that never was, and essentially, right?
Yeah,
the
Hurricane
city,
Nate
the city,
that was
like
not.
the city pulled out all the stops, said we're evacuating, everybody go, and the only persons that really suffered that week were you and all of your performers, in a sense,
And
because
all the festivals that weekend.
Yeah.
There were 9 festivals that weekend that got closed down.
yeah,
It was sad.
So you're wearing black for a reason, Amy.
Yeah,
You're wearing black for a
seriously.
reason.
I don't know why that happened. But.
Again, you know, in conjunction with that, let me see if I've got a couple more photos here. And there, of course, is
Madeline
the divine
and
Veronica again.
No, that's Madeline.
Oh,
that's
is that Madeline? I'm sorry.
White. That's from the same
Okay, yeah, that's
2017. Zara Zemmels and Eric Pollard.
We'll take that back.
And
yeah,
they're toasting. We had champagne on the basin.
What's the toasting is for the district, basically? Is that what?
Yeah, we were toasting. I toasted in '97 with Veronica and
Yeah,
Stalker.
that's what I thought maybe.
Yeah, we toasted with champagne both times. Okay, so there's Diane Honore and
Hugo Kahn.
Hugo Kahn and his wife.
Elise Kahn.
Elise, and I'm failing to remember. Joelle. Joelle is the other baby doll that's there.
She's got a very attractive smile. She certainly does. I can't see her eyes, but I can see her smile.
That bag that Hugo Kahn is holding is a Krauss department store bag, and he gave it to me. And now I framed it because I met him through Krauss department store in 1997. I approached him to come on board with my centennial of the opening of the district Storyville, because he was the president of Krauss department store. And I kept in touch with him over the years and invited him to be my honorary dignitary for the closing. And it was lovely to have him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah. And again, a great community leader. He's been involved with the Jewish Community Day School. He's been involved with Shir Chadash's synagogue. He's been involved, you know, on almost every level of every community organization. And people love him and Liz as well. Again, they... you know, they've been a couple that's been around for a long time, doing their best to make things better. And again, Hugo started at Krauss. You know, he didn't start as the president; he worked his way up, so to speak.
Right.
So, you know, he really knew that department store. And people forget the history of all of the Jewish department stores that were on Canal Street, Maison Blanche included, which was run, you know, by Isidore Newman. And of course Krauss was one of them, and of course they had gold rings, they had Gottschalks. I mean, you could name any number. Gus Meyer, you know, all the different Rubenstein's, all these
Rubenstein's, which is still there.
It's I think the only one left.
Yes.
I don't think any of them are left. Well, Maison Blanche, of course, in a sense, is the building is there represented,
right?
But it's no longer there. But
Krauss was the only department store of the district.
Yes.
And so how important that was. And it's in my play as well. There's a lot of mention about the girls being able to get a ticket to go and buy their hosiery at Krauss. And they did. They were allowed to go shop. And so they would go in groups and go into the lingerie department and shop mostly. So it was important to include Hugo in my celebration.
All right, I've got some pictures of not of you necessarily, but sort of you as a caretaker, and I guess I'll have you explain what that's all about.
Okay.
this is you,
Okay, yeah.
and you're there doing
I'm
your normal
I'm
work.
standing in front of the display. This is an important thing to discuss, actually, Alan, because in 1997, I did a photo shoot with Veronica Russell in the Pharmacy Museum upstairs, which I partnered with the Pharmacy Museum, and they put on a display for 6 weeks. Was the Sure Cures. And they allowed me to use the upstairs area that was the sick room and turn it into our bordello room. And I had Veronica taking photographs there, partially clothed. And I had the pictures, I still have the pictures, and I shared them with her family after she passed. And then in 2017, I got in touch with her family. I'd lost touch with Veronica after Katrina when I didn't come back. And when I came back, I went to her memorial, and I was really saddened. And I'm still getting goosebumps because I lost touch with one of my dearest friends, and she was my actress friend, and she and I had this camaraderie based on the era that we both really felt passionate about and felt a link to. So I asked her family if I could have some of her personal, historic, authentic items and do a display in her memory. And then this became bigger than that because I asked the Pharmacy Museum again to do an exhibit for me for the centennial of the closing, and they allowed me to use upstairs. And most of what you're seeing hanging is a combination of my clothing and Veronica's. The pictures that you're seeing, those portraits, are my actresses. And so I had a picture of Veronica, and I gave it to some artist friends of mine who live in Winston-Salem, John and Lori Cernak. They
Right.
lived at Krause Department Store. They had a condominium there for 4 years, and they had a gallery on Toulouse Street. And I gave them Veronica's picture, and I said, could you make this into a portrait that looks like the age of the time? And so that's 1897 to 1917. So Circus Storyville is around 1912 is when Belloc's portraits came out. So they did better than that. They said, I can do it with your actresses as well. So I have several of the girls come, and we did a photo shoot at the Olivier House, and this is the result. And I had those hanging in the gallery, and Veronica's picture is also hanging in the gallery. And then I gave copies of those portraits to everyone who participated, and Veronica's family has the portrait as well. That's Veronica's portrait.
Yeah.
And that
I just
came from a one black and white picture that I took of her 20 years before, and John and Lori Cernak created that gorgeous piece of art. That display of all of the girls went to art club afterwards when I did another production and an art installation, and it stayed there for quite a while. I think it was 3 or 4 weeks that they were all hanging in art clubs. So Reese helped me facilitate that at her
Reese
venue.
Johansson, of course, right?
Yeah, Reese Johansson.
Now, again, I know you've got some other pieces that I had here that I think this is some of
Yeah.
her gowns, etc., that you had. And
So I have I have a couple of her gowns, her blouses, and a couple of those things are my own collection because I also have artifacts, and I had a display case there with my collection of artifacts. There's some of the copies of the Sunday Sun newspaper, and I displayed them on one of the tables. And then there was a closed, I don't know if you've got a picture of the closed glass cabinet that's got a music stand in it that was from
you
Lulu
sent a lot
Lights.
of pictures,
I
Amy, and
know,
I
I
couldn't
know.
set them all
That's
up as
okay.
much as but
It
the
was
ones
a
that you brought,
fabulous
yeah.
display, Alan. It was just, and I felt like I did something so special for my dear friend Veronica. She meant so much to me for that role that she portrayed, and I was so happy to pay honor to her, and her family was excited that I did it as well, and made
Well,
me very
we
pleased.
all miss her, and one of the things that might be evident from looking at some of the clothes in particular. I don't know whether or not we can really get an idea about that, but she was just an an artisan. She was a crafts person who literally pulled things apart and restructured them and put them back together in a different way. She would take an old dress that was maybe from the period and restructure it completely into a new dress. That people marveled at how she was able to do that, and she worked with materials so
Yeah.
fantastically.
We used to go to Kraus department store together before it closed when we both lived in the quarter when I first met her, and we'd go to the fabric department together and just oogle over all the fabrics.
Just hang out with the
oh my
fabrics.
gosh,
Huh?
it was great in the fabric department.
So
Yeah.
I'd like again, we're talking with Amy Reuben again tonight. Those of you who are out there and like to make a comment, we love to have you make a comment and let us know that you're out there. Again, we remind you that if you want to make a comment on Facebook, you can do so. Just try to use StreamYard.com/Facebook, which will allow you to have permission to essentially put your name up. And that's because of the privacy issues when we've got a group like we have the NOLA Theater Folk group that I mentioned earlier. The fact is that Facebook has to have permission for the people who are members of that group to give out the names of their group members. So that's why you have to do that. It's not like something I'm doing or something that StreamYard's necessarily doing. StreamYard's being made to do it because of Facebook's privacy issues. And so again, we're here together tonight on NOLA Theatre Talk. We're broadcasting this, live streaming it to the NOLA Theatre Folk Facebook group, but also for those of you who are not members of that group, you can become a member. We'd love to have you. To the theatercriticism.com Facebook page. And again, that's not the theatercriticism.com website. There's a difference because we use the theatercriticism.com Facebook page to promote articles. As an example, this week we had a review. What really a review? It was really an obituary on the late Dame Diana Rigg that we mentioned, and so that was published. And so, in order to let people know that it was published, because not everybody goes to a website every day to go check to see if something was published, we put that out so that will then build traffic from Facebook to it, and hopefully back to Facebook. That's the idea. So we have that, and then again, we also have, for those of you who also are not members of Facebook, we have this stream to the Music Lovers 169 Alan Smason YouTube channel. And that's basically the channel I set up years ago, and occasionally you'll see some of these shows, some of my random poetry, etc., that I do from time to time. But more to the point, the plays that we're doing, especially when we can do something like we're going to do coming up this coming Monday. And that's going to be Interstate 81. I'm very excited about that. And again, we can call it a world premiere, you said, so I'm going to call it a world premiere.
Go right ahead, because it is.
For those of you who have not seen it as a stage reading, you have not seen it now because it's not complete until you see it this Monday night. So again, a real opportunity, and hopefully somebody may see it and decide to actually mount it. So let's get to the nitty-gritty.
That would be so good.
Let's get to the nitty-gritty. You lived in New Orleans how long? You said 29 years?
I arrived October 1st, 1990. And I left July 30th, but I still have my house there, but I physically left July 30th this year. So that is 29 years and 8 months. Okay,
so did you leave us for the poutine?
No,
what does Canada have?
I don't do the poutine. I don't do the poutine. But my son likes poutine. My daughter likes poutine.
Yeah.
I don't.
Anybody doesn't
Should
know?
I explain what poutine is?
Yeah, you go ahead and tell them, because I can do it, but you do a better job.
It's French fries, and it's smothered in a gravy, sometimes with roast beef gravy mostly.
Right.
You can smother it in a different type of a gravy, but it's basically smothered French fries.
With cheese curds.
Well, with the curds, yes. Well,
that's essential.
Like
you can't have poutine with the gravy. The
right.
poutine has to be with the cheese
curds. So, thanks for reminding me, because I don't eat it.
My Jewish friends would be going, what? First off, I like my French fries nice and crunchy. So for them to put gravy on top of it and then throw cheese curds on top of it. Yeah, I mean, it's like, why did you do that to perfectly good French fries? But
if Jennifer Pagan made them, I'm sure it would be better.
Well,
maybe she can make you some poutine.
Yeah, that might be a possibility. Anyway, we'd love to hear from Jen if she's got some ideas about that. But anyway, so you actually have moved lock, stock, and barrel
Well,
Up to
my house is still in New Orleans.
right.
I still own my house in New
Okay,
Orleans.
so lock, stock, but not barrel.
Not
So,
barrel. I
so
sold
you,
most every of the lock stock is mostly was
yes.
sold, and I literally drove up here with a 6x12 U-Haul trailer on my Silverado 1500 pickup with my two dogs and my son.
So tell me, did you have a connection to the Great White North previously, right?
Well, I'm from here.
Right.
I grew up in Toronto, and I spent 10 years in Equity Theater here. Got my theater training here, and then I moved to New Orleans. So yeah, yeah. I still
Now,
have my theater friends here, and I've been in touch with a lot of people, and the lifelong theater friends are always the lifelong theater friends, right?
okay.
I'm never going to lose the people in New Orleans. It's just not going to
So
happen.
so I want you to look up Yotam Baum, who was one of the creators of Dark Knights. I mentioned Kalo Gao, who's the dialect coach. That's who she worked with to develop Dark Knights. They were partnered together on this musical, which was a flat out fantastic musical they did at UNO. It was the world premiere that she did. They had a world premiere too. And so
Uh-huh.
Yotam is originally, he's Israeli, or at least from Israeli parentage,
Yeah.
and he works in Toronto now in the theater department at one of the colleges, and I don't know the exact name of it, but I'm sure you can find him
Well,
out.
is it
Yeah,
is it Ryerson?
no, but if you tell me the
University of
name,
Toronto, Ryerson, Sheridan, George Brown College, Humber College, York University.
I don't think it's any of those, but
Though
I could
that
look it
those are
up.
the ones in Toronto.
Yeah, I think it's maybe outside of Toronto.
Okay.
Um, I
Well,
can't.
Sheridan is in Oakville, and they have a magnificent theater program because that's the one that I went to. And one of my
Kalo
best friends is working there as a scenic design teacher.
Kalo should be on the call right now. She should be on the. Let me know exactly what the story is because she knows all about where he is. I want to say it's like the name of a person like George Mason or something like that, but
Well, it's
it's
George Brown College.
maybe that's it.
McMaster?
Yeah, that I
That's
think
in
that's it.
Hamilton.
That's
Yeah, that's
it.
in Hamilton.
But
McMaster.
it's outside of Toronto, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Okay,
45
so
minutes outside Toronto.
okay, that I think that's exactly where it is. So if you can go over there, or you can maybe figure out where how to get an email, maybe I can send it to you. We're going to be
Okay,
working
send it
together
to
on
me,
the
and
on the.
we'll
Yeah,
look it up.
I think he'd be great. He's one of these guys who has this musical mind, and I was amazed. He's really into like pop music as well as classical, and so like me, I have a well-rounded, I guess, appreciation for music. One of the last things that I got into was what you essentially uh, like to Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Somebody's
It's my
calling you.
that's my son. Yeah, I can't answer the phone. I don't even have the phone nearby where I can discard it. So
Funny.
anyway, sorry about that.
That's
But
okay.
but
It's live.
Yotam has this a really amazing creative side of him, and he appreciates all the music. But as I said, the one music that I have found the most difficult, if you will, to get into, opera was not even that, is country music, which figures so prominently in Interstate 81. And
Well,
so
the music in Interstate 81 is very old. It's the
yes,
original Carter family,
of
Hazel
course,
Dickens.
of
So
course,
it's a bluegrass
right.
style of
Well,
music.
it's bluegrass, but it really is. I mean, this was the series that they had on
I saw it.
PBS.
It was
It all talked
fabulous.
about the Carters, and of course that
Hmm.
all leads into like Johnny Cash and so many other
Everything.
offshoots. Even
That's
people
because
like
June
Roseanne.
Carter
Yeah,
married Johnny.
sure. Well, yes, but that legacy was passed through her,
Yeah.
and he would have probably figured prominently as a country person himself. But I mean, I can go
Hmm.
back as a result to some of the people that one of Johnny Cash's, I guess it was the stepdaughter maybe, was married to Nick Lowe. Nick Lowe
Oh, I
was
don't know
the
about that.
original producer for Elvis Costello.
Hmm.
And that's a continuation there. And again, Elvis Costello was a big fan of country music. He
Hmm.
loved George Jones like you wouldn't believe. I mean, he
Hmm.
thought that you know, that was the best kind of
I think
songwriting
he's
there
doing
was.
some country music right now.
Every now and
I
then you
think
see
that's
him.
what he's
Yeah.
tapping into. Elvis Costello. I saw an interview with him recently, and I think
Uh-huh.
that's what he's tapping into. He's being very simple in his music right now. But
Yep.
look, I got to tell you that the music that's in my show. So normally I write with a lot of music, and we are taking a lot of the references to
Right.
the music out because we can't produce that music in this media. But the Coon Creek Girls, I never knew who they were. I never listened to it. And Hazel Dickens, I had never come across these people before, and I am just smitten with their music to such a degree that I listen to it on my own all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I can take a walk and just put it on YouTube and listen. And the a cappella that Hazel Dickens performs is just exquisite.
Yeah. I mean, it's
She
kind
was
of
from
music I
West
know. Yeah.
Virginia.
Right. Right.
Just that I think it's just such beautiful and heartfelt music that we don't get exposed to that in Louisiana. And
No.
so I did research to find it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so glad I did.
The,
It's enriching to
and the
know that
interesting thing
these
that they,
people
yeah,
existed.
they brought about in the PBS series was there's a lot of the black influence in that music too. That a lot of the strains of the music that we think is just from the country music that might be sung mostly by white people actually had a lot of black influence and was a part of their culture as much as you know, we might not think, I guess, that by being exposed to who's singing it, et cetera, but that there's some real
Well,
commonality
the
there between.
Mississippi Delta
Yeah.
Blues is
Yeah.
all black
Yeah.
music.
Right.
And
Right.
it's all, and
And the Rolling Stones didn't have a problem picking that up either, did they?
no, they didn't.
You
But
know,
Robert
Ry Cooder,
Johnson,
or yeah, all of
the
that.
Robert
Yeah.
Johnson music, just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
But
Savoy
yeah,
Brown. We could talk about
Savoy Brown.
a bunch of people who you know picked up on the blues, and I mean even Mike Bloomfield, who you know was a great guitarist. You know, unfortunately passed at much too early an age. You know, emulated that style of the Chicago blues. So all of that, you know, coming from a nice Jewish boy like that. So Amy, you know, we only have a few minutes left. You know, and I wanted to talk a little bit about. Interstate 81, which we've done. I want to talk a little bit about you know, the work that you did with Veronica, which we've done. I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that you're in Canada now, which
Yeah,
we've done.
we've tapped
And,
into that.
you know, again, you know, you didn't really go into a lot about what got you into the playwriting. You said you were an actor,
No, I
so
was never an actor.
you,
I
you
was a
said you were doing.
technician.
Oh,
I
you were a
I worked
technician.
in technical production theater for 10 years in equity houses in Toronto. I went to Sheridan College for applied arts and technology, and my love at the time was lighting. And then I became a lighting designer in Toronto after being a lighting electrician. And I worked also doing bands. I was the lighting director for the premier rock and roll club on Queen Street, the Horseshoe Tavern,
Uh-huh.
and other places here. You know, I gigged. I was a freelance artist. And then when when I moved to New Orleans, I was doing technical production theater and doing industrial theater. I worked for Pete Fountain's Crescent, was Crescent City. I can't remember the last part of it, but it was the technical aspect, and I got to work with some really amazing musicians and doing lighting for their
Oh.
shows. You know, for Irma Thomas for 5 New Year's Eves at the Hilton Hotel, I was the lighting director for Irma Thomas, and she didn't know me, and I just loved her, and I just requested her gig through Pete Fountain's was
Productions or
his
whatever.
production company.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I worked with a lot of different musicians that I fell in love with the music. And then I worked in clubs, and I was the lighting director for the Shim Sham Club, which later became One Eye Jacks, and
When I
they
Jacks,
had
yeah.
that so I did the Shim Shamettes. I was their lighting designer and stage manager, and Jimmy Maxwell. You know, I worked with
Sure,
Jimmy
absolutely.
Maxwell before at the Toulouse Cabaret, and he sponsored my event in 1997. He let me use his place for free to do centennial lectures, and I mean, all of these people, they're so important to everything that I did. So in technical production theater, I found my way into the literary world with the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival. I was their technical director for 11 years. And we did all the drama-ramas. I started drama-rama. I worked as a stage manager and did
At the
lighting.
CAC, right?
At the CAC, you know,
Right.
so all of these things that, you know, I freelanced and I gigged, and that's how I knew more people. They were actors, or, you know, Dane and I worked as technical staff together on a couple of shows as well, because he does that also.
So again, how was it that you got in started to write these things out?
So
Yeah.
when I fell into knowledge of the district, which was all by chance, it was through my daughter Rebecca's father, because he worked at the Bourbon Saloon at the corner of Iberville and Bourbon, and that bar had the portraits in the bar, and it had the original back bar from Tom Anderson's Saloon, which was, well, it had 3 out of the 5 pieces of the original back bar from Tom Anderson's Saloon, which was the corner of Basin and Iberville. And because I walked into that bar and took a look at these portraits and felt like I knew these people, there is something about these people, I started researching. And that was early on after I got to New Orleans. And I started just doing independent research, but I didn't know what to do with the independent research. And I decided to start writing a play. So
yeah, Tom Anderson was considered the mayor of Storyville, wasn't he?
The mayor of Storyville.
Yeah, they called him the mayor, right? Like
Yeah.
Seth Rudetsky's the mayor of Broadway, right? I understand.
Right.
Right, but he was a saloon owner. That's basically it.
He was a business owner.
Yeah,
He owned several businesses. He also was an alderman. I mean, he was an oil refinery owner of business, 2 different oil refineries. He had companies. He married several people, and one of them was my favorite madam, which was Gertrude Dix Anderson, who retired into the district at the corner of Dumaine and Bourbon, right, catty corner from the Clover Grill. So, you know, these people, just something about them attracted me, and I wanted to find out more about them. And I didn't know what to do with their information, and it just fell into my lap. And I said, I'm going to start writing a play. So I started writing a play because I needed to give them a voice. Something was telling me that I had to tell their stories. And I started doing years and years of archival research. And I have a collection of research documents, and I have a couple of interviews, and I tapped into Al Rose's wife, Diana Rose. She became vice president of my company. I incorporated a company. It just kept snowballing. And when I finally finished the 3-act play so that I could do the staged reading in 96 and then plan the 97, I started writing other things. And I eventually went back to school and I got a degree in English. But my degree was with a specialty in poetry, and I just kept writing plays on the side. And now I'm writing more plays than I am poetry, but that's okay.
All right.
So,
Well, anyway,
yeah.
I think we'll end the night with the last picture that I've got, and this is you at
Oh,
Belloc's
that's me
grave.
at Belloc's tomb. I visited him on his death anniversary almost every year, and took several pictures honoring him. I have a very good relationship with him.
His pictures were lost for a while, weren't they? They were
Well,
rediscovered.
they were
kind of?
misplaced.
Yeah.
They were misplaced, and then they were discovered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, because of those pictures, the motion picture Pretty Baby was sort of written. And,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit, right?
That's a very fictitious film. But it was filmed at the Columns Hotel.
It was filmed at the Columns
Hotel. That's why
Hotel.
I did my reading there.
Yeah.
And it was fictitious. I've dug up a lot of research on Belloc, and with the help of Rex Rose, who was he's the son of Al Rose, the late Al Rose, and he did a lot of research. And actually in 1996, when Lee Friedlander brought the Belloc collection back to New Orleans Museum of Art, I was on the symposium panel for Being Belloc. So both Rex and I got to sit and talk about Belloc together. It was quite thrilling. And I presented an excerpt from my play. And it was at NOMA. It was it's so exciting to me. I mean, I belong in that time period.
It's been a pleasure to be with you tonight. We've already exhausted our hour. So I want everybody to remember, coming up this Monday night, we have Interstate 81 by Amy Reuben, the playwright. Not Amy Reuben, the researcher, or Amy Reuben, the
No.
poutine eater, as it were.
No poutine.
So we're going to have our cast again: Ken Cooper, Jen Pagan,
Ken Connor.
Ken Connor, Jen Pagan, Dane Rhodes, and Jaquan Monroe Henderson. Don't forget, Monday night, 8 o'clock. Happy Rosh Hashanah, Lashana Tova Tikvatevu.
Lashana Tova.
All right, and may you be inscribed for a sweet year.
Sweet
and
year
ladies
to you
and
too.
gentlemen, that is all for tonight. NOLA Theatre Talk. Again, I want to thank Amy Reuben for being my guest. And again, I'm going to thank everybody for sticking around for this delightful hour of banter with Amy and myself. Again, my name is Alan Smason, and this has been NOLA Theatre Talk. And hope that you will have yourself a very nice night. I won't be on Friday because of Rosh Hashanah, but I'll be back on Monday to make sure that Interstate 81 happens. And then the following Friday, we'll have another broadcast of NOLA Theatre Talk. And I'll see you at the theater.